What is up? No House Advantage Thursday night. We made it, baby. Week one of this NFL season. The Rams, the Bills, the matchup we're going to be breaking down here and looking at some of the contests, some of the options, some of the different ways you could play over at No House Advantage. I'm Pete McCarthy, hanging out with Geoff Ulrich on what's already been kind of an eventful day here, Geoff. I mean, the Queen, 96 years old. Reigned for more than 70 years. You want to put that in perspective? They did not have Thursday night football 70 years ago. That's a long run.
Yeah, man, it is a long run, and it is one of those days that you're probably going to remember, like where you are. I mean, I can still remember where I was when Princess Diana died. I was obviously like more shocking, and I think that was but it's still a significant event, obviously, regardless of what country. And she's like she's not the world monarch. Obviously, I understand how it works, but she's kind of like the adopted world monarch. So it's pretty big news for sure.
If you know nothing about it, like I was in the dark until recently, The Crown is a very good show, and you can catch up on the life of Queen Elizabeth. I'd recommend that. Probably not tonight, though. You're probably going to be watching football tonight as we get this thing ready to go. I mean, it's a long wait, right, Geoff? You wait, and then finally, here we go. And what a matchup. The defending champion Rams against the prohibitive favorite to win this year's Super Bowl in the Buffalo Bills. A lot of star power on both sides, some quality defenses. There's a lot of moving parts to look at in this week one.
Yeah, this is, in terms of just like watchability, obviously big time. In terms of betting, like maybe not like my favorite matchup in the world, but I think that there's some really interesting spots for props, especially with No House Advantage, which we're obviously going to be discussing, diving into right away. That some very clear advantages I think that you should be taking. Some clear spots should be taken advantage of, and then we're going to use the Stokastic projections and stuff like that to help us out. I think that one thing with No House Advantage, especially that if you're new to this site or you're new to their kind of mass entry, where you're obviously competing in bigger fields. It's good to take some sides, we're dealing with props, we're dealing with over-unders, and, there's always going to be a tendency, especially with just casual players, they're going to be going over too much. And I think that's just one thing to point out right off the bat. So again, we're going to lean on the projections from Stokastic, and we got some spots like right off the bat that we'll talk about that I really like.
And we'll tell you all kinds of things, how to use the website over at Stokastic to help you put together some top lineups here for No House Advantage. We'll go over some basic strategies since this is the first show. We'll be doing this every Thursday from now to the end of the NFL season, looking at all these Thursday night football matchups. So we'll develop, into 201, right? The next level as we go along, but we'll talk about some of the basics over the course of the next 20-25 minutes here. Of course, give us a like, subscribe, keep up with all of our shows, our DFS offers, our giveaways. And once you do subscribe, hit that notification button. You get alerts when our shows go live. Be sure to also check out today's free premium tools and data, which are MLB player projections, as well as our all-new NFL lineup generator, which is free for week one only. So you definitely want to play around with that. You can find that link in the video description below. And if you're still grinding MLB DFS, don't forget that everything we have to offer for MLB night slates on DraftKings is also 100% free for the remainder of the season. That gives you a great chance to give our tools a shot before purchasing. So just click the DraftKings Night Owl link below, and you can check out tonight's tools and projections. So you hinted on some of the basic strategies here for No House Advantage. Want to lean under if it's close. If you're totally new to No House Advantage, this is the way it breaks down. You can go to the website and check it out. But the big contest tonight, you're going to be battling against other people. So it's not just battling against the house. You have to rank your picks. You got to make 7 selections on player props over or under, and you rank them. So the one you feel the best about, you throw 7 points on that, 6 points, 5 points, 4, all the way down to 1 is the basic setup of the way that the contest works out. So, we know on DraftKings, on FanDuel, we're trying to differentiate from everybody else, trying to find a little angle that's going to make us different. What are some of the ways that comes to fruition on No House Advantage?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, like we're ranking, obviously our picks when we're making lineups here. So, right off the bat, it's kind of like having a captain's play in a showdown, but that captain's play is going to be worth 7 points. And there's obviously tiered captains. So, I think one thing that you can definitely work to just use to your advantage and use to differentiate yourself is that I think more people will feel just comfortable putting stud players in their 7-pointers. It's like, well, I know Cooper Kupp, so I'm going to make him my 7-point play because, I know him. James Cook, I don't really know James Cook that well. He's a rookie. We don't have any data on him. We don't know the field. And his prop is low. So, there's certain things like that when you're constructing your lineup. Like if you're, if you're very comfortable, if you just have a strong take on just a lesser known player, or just like a tertiary player, I mean, putting them in the 7-pointer spot is probably going to just, differentiate you right off the bat. And, you can take that down all the way to the lower end of the spectrum as well, and use the more popular players, from in the lower positions. So, obviously you should be looking for like the biggest advantages and not necessarily going by name recognition or anything like that. But, for the multi-purpose entries, again, I like this system on No Host Advantage because it does give you a lot of ways to be different. You can lean under on if the public is more prone to overs, or you can kind of just shake it up by, putting lesser known players who probably won't have as much action on them in your higher points categories.
And those are typically, going to be depth guys that, you're hoping Jamison Crowder, let's say, doesn't have one catch for 50 yards. If you're taking the under on his receiving yards and that kind of thing, it's kind of almost sounds the opposite of what you do on DraftKings FanDuel, where you're trying to incorporate some of those guys and hoping that they pop and have a big game. But we know 50-50, more likely than not, they're not going to have that big moment, that big game. It's just something you can take advantage of here. As far as that big contest goes, a $50,000 Thursday night showdown, $20K to first place, and it's about 20% full right now. So if there's ever time to kind of dabble with this, might have some significant overlay tonight and get a feel for how it works. You have, some good chance of getting up to the top, and we'll see exactly how the contest sorts out. Does it change your strategy at all if there is a lot of overlay, let's say, on this first week 1 opportunity?
Oh, so with the overlay, obviously, it's week 1, you don't get too excited, but if you have the ability to put in extra lineups, you should. It's more of a what you call a spray and pray strategy, right? With not as with the contest not full, you're playing a little bit more essentially reg free if we don't get to a certain point of overlay, and that's just going to give you more shots at the top prize. Obviously, it's a big field. We want to play for the top of the money, and getting exposure to more players. You can have more combos. You can put different players in your 7-point spot. It's going to give you a better shot at getting the top prize. So, with that, with the overlay in mind, I think that you can definitely just differentiate your lineups a little bit more. And instead of just being maybe, developing a really hardcore and then just going, sort of move more boom or bust, definitely taking advantage of that overlay, I think is a great idea. And it's something, week 1, look, it's the big sites, we don't really get access to overlay anymore. So you should be taking advantage of this. Overlay is a thing that's unfortunately going the way of the getting extinct pretty quickly. So the fact we even have a shot at this on No House Advantage definitely should be taking advantage.
Yeah, and when it's there, take a look. So keep an eye on that.
One note, chat. Currently, there's only 560 entries. The top 1,000 get paid in that contest. So just enter the contest right now. Like, it's logic. You get paid out. If there's less than 1,000 people, congrats, you made money. Like, do it.
There you go. Listen to Tyler, listen to the voice of God. I mean, it's, we'll see where we get by, I'm sure there'll be a ton of late entries into this,
Sure.
but I don't think it'll fill at all. I think there'll be lots of opportunity here. So
check it out. And producer Tyler, appreciate chiming in. One more strategy question for you, Geoff, and then we'll start really looking at this particular game, the Rams, the Bills, the props that we're working with. How much are you looking to correlate your picks when you're putting 7 together? Are you building a game script in your head and working off of that? Or are you just looking at the projections at Stokastic? And they're a little haphazard, but they're over-unders. They're all a little overplayed. Depends on what the line is, right? So how much are you playing into that?
So I think that like with the higher usage players, like the players who have, like really solid snap counts, like we know Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp going to be out there a ton. I think you want to build narratives with those players. I mean, obviously if you're taking unders, you've got to think, I mean, like how are these guys going under? Are the Rams, defensively just shutting down Josh Allen? Maybe like a Josh Allen interception then is something, and maybe going over on the rush yards or the touchdowns for like the running backs is something you could think about. But for there are like what I'd call standalone props where I don't even know if you need to correlate them. They're just good props, like to go over or under on one side. But especially with the quarterback and wide receiver position, that's a big one. Like you almost always want to be correlating there. And props like these are no different. I mean, if you're taking over on Josh Allen, I mean, you're probably going to be wanting to look at taking it over on at least one of his receivers as well, like for passing yards and similar to the under. I mean, if you think that there's if you like the under on Josh Allen, then, you think there's an inflated total on one of the receivers, and you should probably take it as well with Josh Allen.
Yeah. There are a lot of different ways to build these lineups, to put them together, to make them all mix up. And we'll break down some of the specifics of this Rams-Bills game coming up. And then we'll also get into a new feature on No House Advantage called Versus the House, where you can put together a number of props to pay out some big money. So we'll tell you all about that as well. Be sure to take advantage of one of our best deals of the year at this time of year as well. Click the link in the video description below or use promo code SCRAMBLE at the checkout, and you get 7 days of Stokastic Plus NFL for just $7. That's 70% off the original price. This includes full access to all the premium content and tools for NFL DFS that we have to offer over at Stokastic.com, including our all-new lineup generator, player projections, ownership projections, top stacks, our boom bust tool, and so much more. And please note that Fantasy Crunch, that's an add-on, is not included in our base packages, but can easily be added at checkout. This offer is valid through Tuesday, September 13th. So look, you can play around with the new lineup generator for free this weekend, week 1, and then hopefully it's worth it for you, and you can jump in on the package as well. But you only have until Tuesday to make that happen. And again, there's so many tools that help you out on No House Advantage, of course, as well here, not just with the projections, but specifically for No House Advantage and our optimal lineup builder, which you can check out over there as well. So I looked at the optimal lineup that we've put at the top right now for No House Advantage. So I'll throw a couple of these props at you, and you kind of let me know where you're going. We'll start with Darrell Henderson, the Rams, running back Cam Akers, who's going to see the majority of the carries. 30.5 rushing yards is the number, and I know Stokastic likes the over there. What makes sense to you?
Yeah, this one is interesting. I mean, this one, again, like, I don't want to say I'm like surprised that we have this as a strong over, and it is a pretty strong over. It's actually one of the props that we really like for the overs and the projections. But I think that, I guess I'm a little bit surprised from the fact that, this is a pretty big prop for Darrell Henderson, just, from the total. Like, I mean, I know a lot of the books even have this at, like a lower total, but I think that's a good thing for No House Advantage. I think it's a really good thing for this contest because I don't think many people are going over on this prop. I think most people look at this prop and they say, oh, well, I mean, like, he's the passing down back. He's not going to get worked in. We've heard Sean McVay talk, like they want to limit Akers. Akers has not looked good. I think Darrell Henderson's going to get, like, I think there's a good chance he's 40% of the snaps. I think there's a good chance if he looks good early in the game, McVay could even go to him. So the fact we have him projected to be a strong over here, I really like it for this contest. I really like going over on this total. I think that it'll be a low used one in terms of like the mass entry. And, Henderson is just, I think that it's a little bit of personal bias because I do think Henderson is actually the better back. And I know that Akers gets the play and he gets the love, but Achilles injuries have just been death sentences for running backs. He looked absolutely horrible last year. I think there's a good chance that Henderson for me is the more productive back, and he's got the lower rushing total. So why not go over there? And again, we're talking about correlation. Cam Akers at 55.5. I mean, take the under on Cam Akers if you're going to go over on Darrell Henderson. So right off the bat, we're correlating, obviously. I think that the Rams backfield is set up perfectly for this kind of prop to correlate it. And I don't think many people are going to be doing this. I think a lot of people will be doing the opposite thing and saying, well, it's Cam Akers. He's got to be the one, who's going over. He's McVay's love child and all this. But I really do think you're going to see a split. I think Henderson was the guy who also back to practice first last week. So he's basically the healthier back. And he's just got a way lower prop to hit. I mean, I think there's a good chance we just see a hot hand kind of thing anyways. So,
and I think the other key is you probably got to like the Rams to win this game. And they are a 2.5 point underdog. They're certainly a live dog here against the Buffalo Bills, but I picked the Rams. I like the Rams in this spot against Buffalo. So I think that's something keep in mind. You can start taking some unders on some of the Bills receivers, maybe if you see the Rams winning this game in that way. So, different ways to put it all together. Now, I know you mentioned earlier, James Cook, same rushing yardage total as Darrell Henderson at 30.5. We have no idea what kind of role James Cook is going to have on this team. We know the Bills liked him well enough to take him in the second round, but this is the mystery of week one.
Yeah, I mean, the James Cook prop, I mean, I assume this will be the one under that's probably popular. I mean, 30, asking James Cook to go over 30.5 rushing yards, again, we're talking rushing yards, is a really big ask for week one, especially against the Rams. Zach Moss looked terrific. Devin Singletary was really good for the Bills last year down the stretch. And like James Cook, why was he drafted? He wasn't really drafted as like an early down back. He's like the receiver guy, right? So like that's kind of why people were sort of all hot and bothered from early in preseason. And now we're getting this rushing prop where I have no idea how James Cook is going to. I really don't. I mean, I have my guesses, and my guess is I don't think we're going to see that much of James Cook in this game. I think there's a very good chance you see limited James Cook anyways, like a couple carries. That's a very real scenario. And for a guy with a 30.5 rushing prop, no, I'm not shocked to see this one projected very strongly on the Stokastic No House Advantage projections, which again, you guys should definitely all go check out. They're up there free on the site right now. This one is one of our strongest plays. I would have no qualms about putting this in the 7-point spot on No House Advantage, even if it's going to be popular. There's just too big of between like reality and what it should be. It's just a good prop to go under on. So our projection definitely putting it off the charts as well. So
yeah, maybe he's a guy that plays a little bit if they're behind and trying to pass the ball instead of run. You get Devin Singletary, obviously that backfield. Zach Moss still floating around for Buffalo. So a lot of different options for them to go to. And again, it's week one. We've got to kind of see what role all these guys are going to fall into. Let's just throw a couple of bigger names at you real fast. Cooper Kupp, we've seen him go off over and over and over again, trying to build on this fantastic season he had last year. The Stokastic projections like the under at 7.5 receptions. I don't think that would be popular, but if the projections are in your favor, you got to like that combination.
Yeah. And I think again, like, you don't have to be like super bearish on Cooper Kupp to go under here. It's more of just, and again, like the projections are pretty close. Like, we have Kupp projected for about 7 receptions. So it's not like, we're completely saying Kupp is going to be garbage in this game. I mean, it's just like, it's a pretty big total and the projection is slightly under, but I think one thing you can do is, if you like, I do like going Cooper Kupp under on the No House Advantage. Again, we're talking about mass entry and strategy. I don't think many people are going to be taking this prop to go under. And what you can do is you can pair him with the Allen Robinson overs. One prop we do like is Allen Robinson over receiving yards, 50.5. It's really low in my opinion. I'm not even like that big into Allen Robinson in this game. I kind of want to take a wait and see on this player, but this is a low prop. And let's talk about the Bills secondary for a minute, because Tre'Davious White is out. And even if they do, and I'm not sure if that necessarily means that like we should be going over on Kupp because I think the Bills will shift over coverage to contain Kupp, or at least attempt to do that. No one could really do that last year, but let's just assume that they do that and they do contain Kupp a bit. That's just going to leave Allen Robinson, with like third coverage here. So I think Allen Robinson at 50.5 is too low. The Rams really, I know we talked about Henderson's over, but that's just kind of a prop that just looks a little bit too low. I don't think the Rams, they're not really going to be that effective running the ball anyways. So, and this is something else you could look towards too. And like, house advantages, in their versus the house game as well, like pairing players like this, like Robinson, Kupp, and even on the other side of the ball as well, maybe like an Akers under with Robinson over. But as far as Robinson and Kupp goes, I like that duo in your lineup. I mean, I think that again, Robinson just as a prop is strong enough to include in like a 6 or a 5 spot in your lineup. Maybe even think about starting with them in the 7 spot. And then Kupp, if you're going to use Robinson up high, why not put Kupp as an under? Not many people are going to do that. So again, lots of strategy involved, but that's where we're kind of sitting with those two players right now.
And you mentioned, the different ways you could play over at No House Advantage. You could, of course, do the Pick'em contest versus other people. You get a shot at winning $150,000 in cash. You can download the app, No House Advantage, choose a contest, select your player props, climb the leaderboard when you make correct picks. You can also, as you mentioned, test your skills versus the house and get 20 times your entry if you hit all of your picks. Get up to bet up to 5 player prop over-unders or individual player matchups across every major sports league. I was looking today, you can not only play the Thursday night football game, there's some baseball props on there. There are soccer props that you could play. So be sure to check out, mix them all together. And make sure when you sign up at No House Advantage, use promo code Stokastic or download the app in the App Store to get a first match deposit bonus of up to $25. Again, at Stokastic, you're going to see our NFL lineup generator for No House Advantage. You're going to have projections there to work off of. So it's all great stuff. Daily fantasy sports. It's been redefined with No House Advantage. So check it all out right now. Let's get into the versus the house aspect of this. You talked a little bit how you can put the lineups together. One of the big questions for this game, I think, is going to be Matthew Stafford, that elbow. Is it a problem? Is it not? McVay had said last month that it was really odd injury for a quarterback, and that it seemed like he compared it to a pitcher and an elbow problem as far as that goes. And now there's a report that Stafford did have surgery this offseason, so that makes sense for some of the pitch count. Now McVay says, look, we'll throw him 50 plus times. There's no limits. There's nothing like that. Do you believe McVay, or are you going to limit your exposure to Matthew Stafford in this game?
No, I think that especially early in the season, Stafford will be okay. I always tend to look at this game too, this Thursday nighter with the defending Super Bowl champion, kind of as more of an island game. And I mean, island is in like, I do have my concerns about the Rams from a season long perspective. Like I worry that maybe the Stafford injury will cause them to miss some time, that maybe the Rams fact that they can't rush the ball catches up to them eventually. But for this island game, like Stafford's healthy. There was no limitations in preseason the last 3 weeks. There's a lot of pride on the line for these Super Bowl champions, like raising the banner. They want to defend it. I think Stafford is, even with our projections, like we don't really have like a strong lean either way. It's actually leaning towards the under for Stafford in the passing yards. But I mean, and again, like the total is up to 280 on No House Advantage, but Stafford isn't really someone I'm necessarily going out of my way to fade and go with unders. I think that the Rams, in a lot of different scenarios in this game, will be throwing the ball a lot. We talked about like the totals with Akers, and I'm fine going under on that. But I think that, the Rams are behind. They're going to be throwing. I think even if they're ahead, they're just not going to be able to run the ball that effectively. So I think that there's just too many scenarios for me where Matthew Stafford just has those extra throws. And he's quite frankly, he was just really efficient last year in this offense. He went over 280 on 10 out of 17 starts in the regular season. Like this is just not necessarily a player I want to fade in that prop. So you could definitely look to take him over, but I'm looking more at like the Rams receivers as being better plays for that reason. Like I think Higbee is a guy you could also sort of lean towards the over, Allen Robinson being like the strongest play. And, Cooper Kupp again, like, you can take him, you could pair him with Stafford if you want to go over or something like that against the house. Obviously, like there's more strategy involved in the mass entry. and the under is kind of our lean. But Stafford and the Rams, kind of a team that I'm looking towards more as being pass heavy tonight. And I think that one projection that kind of did stick out, and we haven't mentioned yet, but Matthew Stafford over over 0.5 interceptions. I mean, we haven't projected basically for a full interception on the site. And if I think he's going to be throwing the ball more and the Rams are going to be having difficulties running the ball, then, it just heightens the interception. Stafford was, one of the up there in interceptions last year. So.
Oh yeah. He threw like a pick six 3 weeks in a row or something last year, didn't it?
Exactly. Right?
It all gets forgotten about when you win the Lombardi, but it's a thing that happened last year.
He really wasn't very good in terms of like turning the ball over. Right. But again, they got the good playoff schedule. They got the breaks, and yeah, like you said, nobody remembers that stuff in the Super Bowl. So Stafford over one interception, definitely at like something else. I think you can take advantage of the fact that he's going to be throwing the ball, and I think he's going to be throwing the ball a lot tonight.
One group that we haven't talked about much is the Bills receivers. And the Bills can move the ball in a variety of ways. Josh Allen could do it on the ground, but of course we know he could do it through the air. We saw Gabe Davis have that unbelievable game in the playoffs against the Chiefs. So he's the clear number 2 receiver. 59.5 is the over-under on Gabe Davis. Stephon Diggs is at 68.5 receiving yards. You have a feel for how Josh Allen will be distributing the ball tonight?
Yeah. So Josh Allen, I mean, there is a reason why we're talking about the Rams more. I think that the Rams picture is just a lot clearer, so we can take harder stances either way. But like the Bills, I mean, it's a little bit harder to figure what exactly they're doing. I mean, one of the strongest props we have is going under on Jamison Crowder, 30.5 receiving yards. And like, I'm pretty sure like Isaiah McKenzie's prop not up on No House Advantage for this game. But if it was up, I'd probably be telling you to go over, because I really do feel like Isaiah McKenzie against the slot, where the Rams were like 22nd DVOA against defending last year, would just be a great matchup. And even like 2 years ago when they played the Rams, I mean, we had Cole Beasley go for like 100 yards out of the slot with 6 catches. But I just like Jamison Crowder. I mean, I don't know exactly what his usage is going to be. I can't sit here and tell you for sure that like it's just going to be all Isaiah McKenzie and Jamison Crowder isn't going to show up with like 4 catches. It is a player I would lean under on. I mean, we have him projected for well under is 30.5 total. I think that's a very strong play. It's definitely where I would be going on, but it just speaks to the fact that the Bills, I think, a little bit harder to project in this game. We have Diggs almost like neutral on his props. It's like slight lean to the under, but I mean, again, like projected for 6.5 catches, we have him for like 6.39 or something like that. So, the Bills receivers kind of like their lines just look like kind of just neutral-ish to me. I like going under on the Crowder prop for sure. Mm-hmm. We definitely have Josh Allen, interestingly enough, as like a pretty strong under on his passing yardage as well. I think there's scenarios where, like the Bills, again, just with the pressure that the Rams can bring up front, potentially struggle a little bit, but I'm looking to take advantage of this Jamison Crowder prop to go under. And then again, it really just comes down to narratives. Like if you're taking the under on Crowder, I think that you should be looking to pair him if you're going to like inverse the house, with an over on Diggs or an over on Gabe Davis, because if Crowder's not getting anything, normally if Isaiah McKenzie was there, I would say go to Isaiah McKenzie, but I think going over on Diggs with yardage or receptions is perfectly fine. And then pairing him with Crowder, because again, like somebody's going to be catching the ball. Like the Bills are still going to be throwing the ball probably 30 plus times easily in this game. And, if you're going to pair with one receiver under, someone else has to catch the ball. So those are the kind of things you can think about when you're making your prop parlays. And I think that, there's enough scenarios out there. Like if the Bills are behind and our prediction comes true, then Diggs is just going to get a little bit of prevent time and probably go over it as well. So
there's a lot of different ways to get there, a lot of different ways to put it together. It's part of the fun out of all of this. And again, you could do that with the player props versus the house, try to win 20 times your money. And of course, you could do it in the pick'em contests as well and try to cash in big this weekend. Week 1, of course, on Sunday and also tonight. And keep an eye on that. If there is some significant overlay, Good time to get involved. If you use promo code Stokastic, if you're new to No House Advantage, you get yourself a first match deposit bonus up to $25. So definitely check that out. Check out all the content that we have coming your way here at Stokastic, helping you out with all these player props and all these shows and all the information you can get on the website as well. Be sure to check it out. We appreciate you watching. Give us a like, subscribe, keep up with all of our shows, our DFS offers, our giveaways, and hit that notification bell as well so you get alerts when our shows go live. Jeff and I will be with you every Thursday afternoon, breaking down Thursday night football for you for No House Advantage. Jeff, pleasure. I'm Pete McCarthy. Take care, guys.